The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good. Welcome back to an all Broad Street edition of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I am joined by one of my heartbeats, Regz. You're
Buddy,
here.
Hello. First off, congrats on finishing the first draft of your book and sending it in.
Whew.
Big milestone.
I would tip my cap. But my headphones
cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers.
Congratulations. I just learned that I mentioned in the acknowledgments I couldn't be more humbled and proud.
I mean, for those that don't know, if you're new to the show and you haven't listened to the rest of the episodes, and if you haven't, go back and do it. We talk about often that like Regz and I don't just like pop on the computer and record and then leave. Like we spend, I mean, I came on at 9:20 tonight. We started this recording at 9:45 because we've just been talking for the first 25 minutes. And then we talk at the end too. So like Regz has heard like this book journey from the jump.
I've read a lot of them. You sent me the Google Drive.
Yeah. And so like, you know, tonight was a story about how there's a part in the book, and I'm not going to say it because if you read it, I'm not going to say it right now. There's a part in the book that was really traumatic for me and holds a lot of like a lot of memories that are hard to wrap my head around. So I asked my mom to read it, and she was happy to do so she could give me feedback and tell me if I was off in any way. But she was having trouble getting access, and when she finally got it, she only had viewership. And this frustrated her. She truly thought she deserved editing access and requested it multiple times. I denied it, and then she requested it again. And Regz and I are talking about this. Regz knows my mom. He knows good.
Oh, Joe Marie. I love her so much.
My 45,000 page Word document, not page, Word document. Yeah. Google document would have been gone. It all would have been gone. It had she gotten editing access.
Yeah.
So these are the things that Regz and I talk about before we come on to talk about Philly sports. That's sort of our.
Again, I've said it multiple times. The bet, regardless of anyone, if anyone ever listened to what we actually talk about while we're recording, the fact that I get to talk to like you and Banks for like 45 minutes at least once a week is like the best part about doing these things.
How about it? It really is. I said that to Andrea not long ago. You know, one night we were down here for a while, and she goes, "You didn't come up till late." And I was like, "Yeah, we just got talking." She's like, "Does that happen every week?" I said, "Yeah," because it's like, I think we've kind of gotten lost in our friend group, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just a natural way of life. As you get older and you become busier, it happens where we only see each other yearly, if that.
Yeah, right.
And it feels like we're so ready to reconnect, and we get back into things so easily that we almost take for granted the 362 days that come in between if we spend like a weekend together.
Yeah, because it poofs away the instant we all get together. You'd have thought we saw each other the day before.
But we miss all of the little moments that, you know, add up to that 365 days.
And then you can't talk about it all either in the long weekend that we see each other.
No, because there's not enough time. There's too many of us and there's too much to share.
Right.
So, you know, our weekly conversations, like you are able to keep me up on the boys' baseball, and I keep you up on my writing. And, you know, we talk about, of course we talk about sports, but we talk about like memories, and we laugh and we joke, and, you know, we've had some really serious conversations about stuff that we're dealing with personally before and after the show. So like there's all these things that in the grand scheme of a year are blips.
Yeah.
But so that when you get together, you're only talking about the big stuff.
Yeah, right.
Very general parts of that versus these weekly conversations. And again, I still think like the Summit podcast would fix all of it.
Listen, there's still a lot of time left in this year. I think we can get episode 1 done before the year's over. I feel like we could make it like it might just be like a monthly thing.
I feel like
I feel like once a month would be doable for people.
It would be great.
Because we would only need 3 to really make it a thing. Like, so even if some people couldn't join a certain week, that's fine. We'll get you on the next one.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put a calendar together. We're going to do this.
I feel like we can make it happen. Also, this hat that I'm wearing is very tight, Reg. So if I keep adjusting it throughout the show, I think I bought it like a size too small.
That's the worst. Yeah. But you have as a small-headed person, I feel like that doesn't happen too often for you.
No.
My head is ginormous.
No.
And so almost every hat that I buy, I need to like stretch and pull and really got to work it out.
I saw a beautiful powder blue hat at the stadium that I will be purchasing the next time I go.
What was the bill color?
It was all powder blue. And it had the maroon P.
Awesome.
It will be on my head by the end of the month.
We bought a very similar one for my oldest son, but it had the maroon bill. But still,
he was wearing it.
Yeah.
He was wearing it when I saw you guys.
Yeah, Andrew just bought it. Andrew just bought it for her.
It was a perfect hat. So I have the opposite. I have the maroon with the powder blue bill.
Yep.
But this is all powder blue.
Yeah.
And I think it's a maroon P. I don't think it's a white P. I think it's a maroon P.
Maroon would go much better with that.
Oh, dude, and I love the powders.
Oh my God. It's my favorite thing.
It truly is. I can't wait for their City Connects. I hope that they're
going to be terrible. Nike's done an awful job with them so far.
Really? But Nike would hit a freaking gold mine if they went with the powder.
Yeah.
If they went with
I'm a Nike guy. Like, I love all Nike things, but they've dropped the ball on most of these so far. Like baseball, again, this is a tangent. Baseball uniforms aren't about how complex can we make this?
Right.
Baseball, for everything, they're trying to get more modern and, more hip, as the kids would say. I sound like just an old man. But that's fine.
You said hip.
I did say hip. Like the kids would say. Would they say fire? Is that what they call it?
That's
oh my God.
One. That's the one.
It felt dirty coming out of my mouth. I didn't like it.
That's the one.
For as much as baseball is like moving into this new era and trying to be cooler, people love the simple old school stuff. And I'm not saying you have to do everything old school, because again, not everything old school was good. But there are certain places where it's really good. Like, give me an old school Houston Astros with the orange and the yellow and the black. Remember those old school jerseys that they had? Like, those things were sick.
Yeah.
I hate the Astros, and I would be interested in like a t-shirt if they came out with something cool like that.
Yeah, listen, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm not throwing in the towel on Nike quite yet.
Again, I love Nike.
I really do like the White Sox jerseys, and I like the tops of the Mariners jerseys. Mm-hmm. I hate that they're black pants, but I love the tops of the Mariners jerseys. And you know what, Regz? At the end of the day, if they screw up the pants, who cares? I'm not wearing the pants.
Well, yeah, right. No one's buying pants.
And I have a very strict no jersey policy. Have we talked about this on the show?
I don't think we've talked about it on the show.
I do not wear jerseys of players who are younger than me.
Okay, I just don't wear jerseys, period. I feel like I'm just...
So I have a bunch of jerseys. I have Chooch, and I have Rhino, and I have Chaser, and Shane, and Jimmy, and Doc. But I don't have any of the players from this team because they're all younger than me. However, if the City Connect jerseys are... I'll go with baller. If they're fire,
did that feel as bad for you as I felt?
Yeah, okay. It felt terrible.
You're older than me, despite our appearances. You're older than me.
So I would probably buy one. I've been this close to buying a powder.
Can I guess which player you would buy younger than you first? taking Harper out of the mix because I feel like that's an obvious answer.
For sure, take him out of the mix.
So we're going to take him out of the mix.
Even though he's my favorite player.
I know. But again, that's why I took him out because I feel like that's an easy answer. But we're going to take him out.
It's a given. It's a given.
I'm just going to tell you my initial gut feeling when I thought of this question in my own head.
Okay.
So again, we have not talked about this. This is purely off the cuff. Bryson Stott.
It would be Bryson Stott.
Fantastic. Yeah. God, I'm so happy I got that right.
It would be right. But there's a couple of reasons why.
I mean, contact hitter, great eye, plays the shortstop and second base just like you, like leadoff hitter. Like, do I need to keep going?
Gritty.
Sure.
Smart.
Yep.
Where's number 5?
I didn't. Yeah, the 5, obviously.
Yeah. So if they do, if they sold him in powder, I'd probably do it. But I just have a very strict policy on that. I actually got it from my older cousin.
I was about to say, where did that come from? That's such an odd, baseball thing to say.
It is. But it's just something that, he said once, and I was like, I can get behind that.
Very interesting.
All of this coming off the conversation about the hat.
This is one of our better opening 10 minutes, I must say. I feel like we've hit a bunch of stuff, and it's been fantastic.
But the hat, for those of you that can't tell, is a 76ers. We went all across the board with the outfit tonight. I don't match at all. It is the Sixers hat with a shark wearing an Eagle shirt and Phillies hat, made by a staff member at Shaw Elementary School, the Shaw Sharks. So thanks, Courtney. Shout out Courtney for the shirt.
There you go. Shout out Courtney.
However, she also drew me a picture with the same shark outfit on.
There you go.
But the Sixers hat, because we're going to start there tonight, Regz. Sixers did what they had to do.
Yeah. I understand people's concern with Embiid coming back and then losing by that much. And a lot from the things I've been reading and listening to, a lot of the concern stems from, is the offense without Joel Embiid what you need in an offense to beat the Celtics? I can understand some of the points of it, sure. You kind of have to match their fire with fire, because if they're going to do what they did last night, which again was ridiculous, but this team is capable of it when they shoot 20 of 51 from 3, and everyone on their team is hitting everything. Like, that's the best version of the Celtics, because Tatum had to do nothing and everyone else was just absolutely on fire. But that is the team you're dealing with. That's how good the Celtics are. So you can understand the argument of, with a guy like Embiid, who in this game in particular was very slow offensively. He kind of didn't struggle to make decisions, but just was taking a long time to make decisions or make a play. You could argue that the offense is better with Harden being the playmaker, surrounding him with shooters, and that's how you stay with this Boston team. Again, Joel Embiid is who he is. You can't really convince me probably that taking that guy out of your lineup is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're just probably not going to convince me that that's true.
Yeah.
As much as I can understand from a basketball perspective where that argument is coming from, and I think it's valid. I really do. I do think there's some good points to be made there. You can't blame this on Joel Embiid. The Boston came out and were just like, did everything you expected them to. All their bench players hit everything. Everyone else,
where Brogdon hit like 4 consecutive threes on 4 straight shit.
It was going to happen. Boston wasn't going to play to the same level they did in game 1. But we went in there, we did the job. We took one. It's like in the Phillies run. All we had to do in those first 2 games was win 1. Get back home and just try and win as many as you can. They proved in the regular season that they can play with this team with Embiid on the floor. Last night was a blip. I don't think it's because of Embiid. You move on. You get back home and you try and win some games.
Some other context to this. We talked about it after game 1 when we did the reaction, which was James Harden gave every ounce of his effort and energy in game one. There was nothing left in his tank last night.
He was a nothing.
There was nothing left in his tank last night at all.
Absolutely right.
And understandably so. And
Sure.
we named it when we talked about it by saying, I don't care if James Harden plays well in game 2.
Yeah.
He did everything he had to do in game 1 to get them a win.
Right.
He played his tail off. You're right. Tatum didn't have to do a whole lot last night. Al Horford was terrible.
He was, which was fun to see.
Yeah. Marcus Smart continues to just be obnoxious, and
he will not be that good for the entire series.
No, absolutely not. There were a couple of shots where he had to throw it up and it somehow found the bottom of the net.
Ridiculous.
And Jaylen Brown is going to be a tough stop no matter who they play.
Matter what. They don't have great matchups for Tatum and Brown.
No, you don't. But in game 1, those two scored 60 combined points and the Sixers win the game.
Right.
But here's my question, Regz, because their plan is clearly going to be, we're going to throw up 3-ball after 3-ball after 3-ball. We're going to try and shoot somewhere between 40 and 53s. If you're the Sixers, how do you stop that? Because your best defender isn't on the perimeter. Your best defender is a 7'3" dude who's protecting the rim, but the team you're playing wants nothing to do with the rim. So
I think it's almost, if you're asking me just from a basketball perspective, like 3-2 zone. If you're going to go, when Embiid is on the floor, if you just want us to shoot the crap out of the ball, like you said, that is their game plan, which of course it is. You don't want to drive to the basket a million times on Joel Embiid. It will not work out for you over the run of an entire game. And they have enough shooters to be able to execute that plan effectively and win these games. Like, again, that's how good Boston is. So you have to do something that isn't man to man. You can't chase these guys all over the place. You don't have enough good, versatile, athletic defenders out there in order to run around with these guys all game. So you go 3-2 zone. Maybe you give up a couple corner threes to guys not named Tatum and Brown. And you just live with that. They're going to make some. Like, they're not going to make as many as they did the other night, but they're going to make a good amount.
Yeah. That's like 40%, right?
Yeah. Again, they corrected the curve and they came back just how you thought they would.
Right.
They're not going to shoot that way every game.
And, I got to say, I was very anti Joel playing last night. Mm-hmm. However, people make a really valid point in saying, like, they used last night as like a tune-up for him. Like, it's really him just getting his feet back under him, his legs back under him. So Friday rolls around and he's back into the swing. And let's just point this out too. Tomorrow night at Wells Fargo is going to be absolutely electric. While across the street at Citizens Bank, basically at the same time, Bryce Harper's going to walk to the plate for the first time, and Joel Embiid's going to be handed the MVP trophy.
Yeah.
There might be an earthquake in Philadelphia.
Just between the two stadiums.
Just a crack that runs across Pattison.
Did you see that the Phillies had to request a waiver of the pitch clock for that particular moment for Bryce Harper?
Oh, we're going to get there.
Okay, good. No, not for the brace thing, for when he steps to the plate first.
Oh, I did not see that.
Because they've been enforcing the rule, even like when Kutch came back to the Pirates. I think he got called for a violation. Like, because it took too long. You have to submit like a special permission for that particular at bat to get like the pitch clock waived just for that moment.
Yeah, I got stuff to say about that.
I know. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but it's just
that's okay. That's okay.
Anyway, back to the Sixers.
It's ridiculous. So that place is going to be absolutely electric tomorrow. Joel getting the MVP award.
Yep.
1-1. I do anticipate an early run from the Celtics because they know what they're walking into.
Yeah. And they're not scared to play here. Despite what it'll be, they're not afraid to play here.
They're not. I like your idea of a 3-2 zone. I know Doc won't spend the whole game in zone.
No. You have to. You just have to have it in your back pocket to mix it up.
I think there's like a sense of pride as an NBA head coach and NBA players that you want to man up, right? And,
of course, yeah.
And they're gonna certainly find themselves in sets, maybe Paul Reed sets, where that's the idea. Although Paul Reed in the zone could be fun because he just runs around like with like his head on fire.
See, I think Paul Reed in the zone isn't bad because he can get out to those corner threes.
Yeah.
Like Joel is just in that 3-2 zone. You're doing it because you know if they somehow swing it fast enough and get past it, you still have Joel near the basket.
Correct.
Like you're going to give up more corner threes with Joel in the game.
Yeah.
Paul's going to contest more. You're still going to give up the shots because an NBA team will figure it out. But that's the difference when Paul's out there as opposed to Embiid.
So my guess is 8:00 tomorrow because it's listed as 7:30, but it was listed as 7:30 yesterday and it started at 8.
Yeah, they've been like the times listed haven't been perfect. A lot of people have been tweeting like, "Oh, the game's actually starting at this time," or whatever it is.
And then on Sunday they play at 3:30.
Yeah,
probably 4. So Regz, I'd love to say, oh, you just need to split, but I think they need to win both.
You have to try and win these games.
Yeah,
it's going to be really hard to beat this team 3 more times.
What happens right now that the Sixers hold home court in a best of 5.
Right.
You lose one of these games and you give it right back because it turns into a best of 3.
Exactly.
And 2 of those games are in Boston.
Yeah.
So you need to take advantage of a raucous Philly crowd.
Yeah.
You need to feed off that energy. Look, you watched the Eagles do it through the playoffs. You watched the Phillies do it through the playoffs. These guys were at those games. We were at a game where Joel Embiid was in the
That's right.
Experiencing that energy, that electricity. He's played in it. They've all played in it now. No one's new to this.
Yeah.
No one's new to this. They can beat this team. I know what happened. I know what happened last night. You and I both texted each other basically the shoulder shrug emoji.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
This is what are you going to do? There's nothing. I don't feel like the Sixers did anything wrong except get really cold at a bad time.
You weren't. I'm going to say this right now. You weren't. It would have been the miracle of miracles to win 2 games in Boston to start this series. You
Correct.
weren't going to do it.
I don't care how you lost.
I don't care either.
I don't care how you lost.
It was going to happen in one of these games.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you came out and sort of gave them a gut punch in game 1 without your best player, I think was the best case scenario. Yeah. But now I think you have to take care of business in this game. Because if you lose the first one at home, this Celtics team doesn't need confidence. They made it to the NBA Finals last year, and they earned the stripes that they have. You can't give this team game 1 because then they're going to walk all over you. You have to win this first game at home. I'm not saying you might not lose one. This first one at home, you have to take advantage and win because you have to keep the crowd into it as long as possible. If you lose game 1, game 2 is not going to feel the same. And game 3 will definitely not feel the same.
Right. And that's the importance of tomorrow.
Yes.
That's the importance of tomorrow. And so just for context for everybody listening, if you're listening to on Friday morning on your way to work, Mike will not be able to watch right away. It'll be DVR'd. And my phone will have to be off because I'm going to be at a comedy show and they don't allow cameras on in they only allow phones on at a comedy show. So my phone will be off and I will watch it when I get home well after. And I'll give my reaction to Regz from there. But I think Regz, prediction wise, I do think the Sixers win. And I actually think they win in a relative blowout. I don't think it's gonna be a 30-point blowout.
No.
But I think they'll win by 10, 12 points toward the end, they'll pull away type of win. I think they're feeling sort of embarrassed about what happened, and the energy in that stadium tomorrow is going to certainly push them. So I do have them winning, going up 2-1, heading into Sunday, and we'll see what Sunday brings then.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that would be my same prediction as well. Is that they kind of pull it away with free throws at the end. But
yeah, I think that's what it is. Exactly.
I think they certainly come out with. I think a lot of the other day of game 2 was Joel getting used to being back. He was obviously pretty apprehensive offensively. Defensively, I thought he played pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's good to get that out of the way on the road. So now he can come back home where he feels most comfortable and not be tethered down by anything. He's played on it. Now he can, he knows what it feels like. He can be ready to go. So,
well, we look forward to seeing Joel he was pretty confident about being back to his normal self. Like he felt, last night was a good way to get himself back into the game a little bit.
He also said it was a 4 to 6 week injury and it's been 10 days.
So. Yeah, I know. He's something else, that guy. He's really something else.
So, obviously not all the way to 100%. Again, like I said, I think it was good for him to get the sort of jitters out of the way on the road in a game that you probably were going to lose anyway, barring a miracle. Yeah. So get it out of the way, come back home, feel good, put your foot down, win this first game at home, and keep that crowd in it as long as possible.
Right. And I think they will. I do. I think tomorrow will be a game that we feel pretty much in control of from the tip.
I've been having fun watching these games. This is literally the most basketball I've watched in years.
Yeah, we got super caught up, man. We got super caught up. All right. Eagles?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, our plan tonight is to go over the draft, talk about, the more ins and outs of it. We're going to spend time here, but certainly have some other pieces that we want to get to. I think where we need to start is with the obvious. We already talked about Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, but I've been watching some tape on Nolan Smith.
Quick plug. If you haven't seen those videos, they're on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Which is 1 subscriber away from 40, and our goal for the end of the year is to get to 50. So if you want to go check out those reaction videos, they have been hot.
Hey.
They have been hot.
Hey.
Well over 200 views combined in those 2 little videos. So thank you to everyone who's watched already. But link will be in the description to the YouTube channel.
I mean, look at us here. Before we jump, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention: the Eagles did sign a tight end today, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
Dan Arnold spent time with Arizona. I saw an interesting stat on him. He's one of 5 tight ends in 2021 that had 3 straight 60-yard receiving games. The other names on that list: Kyle Pitts, superstar young tight end; George Kittle,
obviously;
Mark Andrews,
yep;
and Travis Kelce.
I was about to say that's obviously the next one.
So Dan Arnold, not a bad number 2.
Playing for Arizona, you said?
Yeah, playing for Arizona.
Again, and that was in 2021. For a guy who can't throw.
Yeah, in 2021. And in 2022, the Cardinals signed Evan Ingram.
Right.
So he only played like 15% of the snaps, but still flashed. So another, Howie just in the margins, Howie Roseman. But been watching tape of Nolan Smith. Regz, I have no idea how he got to 30. But I'm so grateful that he did.
It was a combination of the injury and his size, right?
Yeah, but still, it's just unbelievable what he's capable of on the front.
Yeah, I think and like you, I've been continuing to watch every video, every analysis, every article on the draft. I've been continuing to read for the past several days. Every podcast, all those things. I think the difference is Philadelphia has proven, and this is a credit to obviously the players, the player themselves, or the players themselves. Like Brandon Graham, not an oversized defensive end. You know what I mean? Like Brandon Graham is not, what is he, 6'2" maybe? Maybe is Brandon Graham even 6'2"?
I don't believe he is.
I don't think he is either. Again, not an overwhelmingly physically gifted, defensive end. Couple that
he's listed as 6'2", which means he's.
I
not
feel like
6'2".
he's 6 3/4 in
if he's listed as
6'1.5". Yeah.
If he's listed as 6'2", he's not 6'2".
Anyway, Hassan Reddick, another not giant, like huge. You call it like the Bosas of the world or the Hutchinsons of the world defensive end. Right. They're just not the same body type. And Philadelphia has proven to be a place that these guys, again, all the credit to them for working their tails off to become these people. But whatever it is, the coaching, the scheme, whatever it is, these guys have been proven to be successful here.
Yeah.
And so I think when you've seen BG into Hassan Reddick, all those guys, for him to come here is almost, again, it's very much to the Jalen Carter thing. Like, it's almost the perfect scenario. It's a team that 100% believes that we don't care about your size. We've seen your talent.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you put in the work, you will succeed here, because it's not going to be us that doesn't believe in you. This is up to you now to put in the work, to become better and succeed in this sport, because it's not like we picked you because we believe in you 1,000%. Like, we have two other guys that are still on this team that have proven that they can be successful at almost your similar size. Like, take advantage of this, man. Like, this is where you can come and flourish. Like, it's up to you now.
And he seems like a worker, and he seems like a kid who's going to take that and go with it. And certainly he's going to learn. I liked what they said to him about reaching out to Reddick and Graham, and he was like, no, he's like, I'm not going to reach out to them. And I'm not going to bother them until we get to camp, and then I'm going to follow them around.
Yeah.
And he was like, but I wouldn't want a freshman reaching out to me as a senior on the phone. Like, they'll reach out to me if they want. And I did appreciate that. Like, he knows his place right now. He's not coming in as the big dog.
And
right?
I also think that despite all the Jalen Carter talk, despite the talk that you got from Georgia coaches that they weren't that high on Jalen Carter because of his work ethic, when you ask Georgia people about Nolan Smith, they were like, that guy is the leader of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was injured, like, everyone looked to that guy as the leader of that defense.
What makes me laugh about the Georgia coaches who are like, oh, his work ethic wasn't great, yet we played him every snap of the season.
No, like, no, I'm not going to curse, but like, no crap. The 18-year-old uber talented guy who is destroying people in his first year of college isn't going to absolutely dog it during wind sprints in the spring. You know what I mean? Like, college coaches are such a fickle bunch of like egomaniacs.
Yeah. Get off my lawn, guys.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So we're not gonna spend a ton of time there. We're gonna to round 3 because they traded out of 2 so they could add a couple more picks down the draft. The Eagles only made one of their own original picks in this draft.
Isn't that amazing?
Which is just so Howie in so many ways. But they used that first round 3 pick on offensive lineman from Alabama, Tyler Steen. And the interesting thing about Tyler Steen is that he spent the bulk of his career not allowing anybody to touch Bryce Young from the tackle position.
Yeah.
However, the Eagles drafted him as an all-guard, where it looks like he's going to be much more. It'll be interesting to see if he gets those snaps or if Cam Jurgens gets those snaps as the right guard between Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. I feel like Tyler Steen is sort of, the name of round 3 was versatility for the Eagles, because he's like the perfect situation for them. If they decide to start him at right guard and Lane needs to miss a game for like something similar to what happened to him this year, like I don't know, the abductor, but like he had a concussion earlier in the year. So if he needs to, if he needs to sit because he's on concussion protocol, Tyler Steen can move to right tackle. He's played the position at a very high level, at the best football school in the country and didn't allow anybody to touch his Heisman Trophy quarterback
against the best
the most athletic competition. Right. Yeah. So they kind of have him as, and then he's a potential replacement when Lane goes, if they want that. However, they have 3 picks in the top 60 next year that they can get their next tackle then if they want. Lane makes it seem as though he wants another 2 to 3 years. So Tyler Steen's a great pick there just because of the versatility and his ability to play both right guard and right tackle. He's not played right guard, but I mean, when the guy coaching the offensive line gives the nod to the pick.
Right. I mean, that's the ultimate thing, is that I've heard the Ringer Philly special guys were talking about this a little bit, that it was surprising to see a guy who has played so long in the SEC not be sort of set in his ways. Like, he's still very raw. And so they think there's a good ability there to coach up a lot of things. He's not perfect in everything. He's not,
no.
He's not, like, at the guard position, they were saying he's not great at sort of setting his weight somewhere and keeping those guys off. He's much more used to being a tackle and being able to move his feet and get in the proper position to block the guy. Like, but we've got the best offensive line coach in the league.
It's Stoutland you.
And if you don't think that dude, like you said, gives a head nod to every offensive lineman that they look at, the pick doesn't get made. The pick doesn't get made without Jeff
Long. It's Kevin Long in football.
Exactly. That's a perfect comparison. That dude doesn't get picked without Jeff Stoutland saying, "Yep, there's enough there that we can figure this out."
And it might not be this year.
Right. To your point earlier, I don't think he will start, because I do think that there's enough that they need to work on.
Yeah. And I got to say, there's nothing wrong with using this year to let Cam Jurgens play next to Jason Kelce.
Yep.
And then learn from Kelce by playing next to him. And then next year, all you do is just a little shift to the left.
Right.
Inside's Tyler Steen at right guard.
Yeah.
And after a year of development, it's really, and again, you have the guy to be behind the guy at right tackle. It's just a really well done job. And then they go with more versatility 2 picks later by taking safety from Illinois, Sidney Brown. And Sidney Brown kind of, he's sort of like, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's going to be a future Hall, but the way that he plays, head to the ground, shot out of a cannon, reminds me of Troy Polamalu. He flies to the football.
They make comparison to that San Francisco guy. I can't remember his name right now, but again, of like Samoan descent, who is very Polamalu-ish. I'm going to look it up while you're talking, but again, a guy who just flies to the football. Maybe not great in coverage. Really has to guess because he just doesn't have the athleticism. But a guy that just all of a sudden you might be like, how did he get 3 yards in the backfield from where he was standing?
Yeah. And so the thing that I like about him is his ability to sort of slide into the box and do a little bit of the linebacker thing, or, slide out and be able to cover a bigger slot receiver or a tight end in the slot. I think what I've read and heard about him is he is that instant leader, that instant locker room guy, the instant plug and play. Well, he's going to get snaps.
He's a 5-year player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's going to get snaps. I mean, he's going to play immediately. And there you're going to see, unless they go and do the unthinkable, which would be Budda Baker, you're going to see a bunch of different safeties out there rolling around. And I say the unthinkable, but God only knows with Howie.
Yeah.
Did you hear what Howie said the other day about
when asked about who?
When they asked him about taking a vacation?
No.
He was like, I'm never happy with the roster, so I'll take a vacation when it's time to take a vacation. But I do believe that they have a future starter. I feel more confident about him as a future starter than I do about Tyler Steen. And just what I've read about him, some people were saying that he only looked good on tape because of Illinois' corners. Well, I mean, we could say the same thing about CJ Gardner-Johnson. He looked good at safety because of Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Like, the same thing could be said. So if that's the case, he's coming into a really good situation because of who plays corner. And, you know, his and the front. Obviously, the front four is a major plus for a guy like him. Because if they send him on blitzes and his shot out of the cannon style comes into play, he's gonna be a real problem for quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like, the problem with this team was tackling most of the time.
Yeah.
And now, so look, here's what you've done. The D tackle position now contains Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox, right? And all those guys. The D ends are the same way. Your linebacker is still sort of an up in the air position, despite how
they're gonna add.
They are, right. But it's still as we talk right now.
Yeah.
It is an up in the air position. You need more tacklers of the football who can play in the box.
Yeah.
And the guy on San Francisco was Talanoa Hufanga.
Oh, okay.
Guy.
Yeah.
So that's who.
He was fun to watch in the playoff game.
That's who the Ringer guys were comparing it to. He just flies at the football. He's not great in coverage, but that's not what you ask him to do.
Nope.
You know, most of the time. So look, this team has in its history done really well with safeties who fly to the football. You know,
they've done all right. They've done all right there.
Obviously, he's on the older side. He's a 5-year player. So he's not sort of, you know, he's not like 21 or something like that. But
right.
He looks like in all the tape, like in all the videos I watch, he looks fearless.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's Derrick Henry back there, that dude's that dude's never thinking, I can't crush that guy.
Yeah.
So let's hope he can translate that into actual tackles, you know, because he's not the biggest dude.
No.
He's a brick of a dude, but he's not the tallest, and he doesn't weigh a ton. He's built like I said, like a brick. But when you're going against like a Derrick Henry or some of these other running backs, like, you really got to be a good tackler. So there's a chance for him to come and do what he needs to do. I don't think they'll ask him to do a lot of things that he's not good at, but what he is good at, he needs to make sure he's good at, because he's going to be in there for certain situations and he needs to come through.
Right. Well, I'm excited to see a little bit of him and what he'll bring to the table early on in the season. So I think we'll see him pretty much right away. Then they traded up into the fourth round to come back in and get Keely Ringo, corner from, you guessed it, Georgia. And I gotta tell you, I had him on one of my mocks, second. And he definitely has his holes. He struggles a little bit but he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a kid that you can develop because of the veterans on the team and the depth that's already in place. They have depth. There's no pressure on this kid to come in and play. So he's going to have time to sort of navigate the NFL, learn from two of its best, and potentially become one of the better players, one of the better corners in the league, because the upside is huge. It really just comes down to whether or not he develops in the way that you would hope for him to develop. He's sort of a freak in terms of his ability. But ultimately uneven to the point where, like, you could see him get some looks at safety. Good size, like I said, freakish athleticism. Really good, has moments of good ball skills, but sometimes loses those again in man. So I think, one of the things that they'll have to work on is just his awareness. And again, as a 20-year-old.
Well, yeah, right. That's the whole thing with this, I think, is that it's a 4th round pick. When you pick corners that late, you're not expecting them to come in and start. You know there's a lot for them to learn. He's behind 3 of the best in Bradbury, Slay, and Maddox.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy's job is to just absorb.
Yeah.
And all the little, I think I'm making this comparison only because of the sort of incremental gains we expect to see. I think it's very similar to when Jalen got here. We just needed to see Jalen be a little bit better.
Yes.
Each season. We're not asking Keely Ringo to be a superstar 2 years from now.
Yep. Doesn't have to be.
Nope. But what we want to see is you get better and better and better. So when you are 24, 25, you're a solid NFL starter.
Correct.
Like, that's the goal for this kid. I think that's the projection we can make 4 years from now. Is that you're going to get some playing time, but it's not going to be a ton at the start. Your job is to learn how to play in the NFL and work on your deficiencies. And as you do that, and you get better and better and better, you will be a starter who's going to make a lot of money when you're 24, 25.
That's right. That's right. Well, one guy that I hope we don't have to see is Tanner McKee.
Please, God, no.
6th round pick out of Stanford. Good arm.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate. Really good.
Absolute statue.
Yes. But at the same time, pretty good presence in there. Rhythm. But I worry a little bit about his ability to play at this level. Now, that being said, this is such a Howie pick.
This is pure third quarterback.
Yeah, and honestly, probably the perfect guy to emulate some of the statues they're going to see. The NFC is full of them.
Mariota was brought in so they don't have to change the offense like they did with Minshew last year. They realized that we can't have a guy that we have to so dramatically change the offense.
Right.
For if something, I'm knocking on wood, would happen to Jalen. So they brought in a guy who can just slide right in. He's not obviously the same player as Jalen, but you don't have to change the offense for Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like you said, the third guy being that practice squad QB who can emulate the other team's quarterback. Yeah,
His comp is Mike Glennon. And Mike Glennon has been a backup quarterback in the NFL for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what you end up being as a 6th round pick, good for you.
Yeah, right. You're going to make a lot of money.
But what I see this as is Howie saying, this guy is going to basically be our practice squad pocket passer, but also I'm going to try and turn him into a 5th, 6th round pick, like his value or better in 3-4 years.
Right.
Like that's what this is.
When someone needs a number 2 quarterback.
Yep. I'm gonna turn him around and get myself a pick.
Mm-hmm.
So Howie being Howie. And then they in the 7th round took Moro Ojomo, who a lot of people thought would be gone in like he doesn't do well, and this shows on his tape. If he doesn't win right off the snap, he doesn't do well getting off of the block.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't disengage from the block. It does show in his tape quite a bit. However, there's a ton of explosivity in him, and he can play in this league. Like, he's a guy who I truly see becoming a rotational end in a couple of years. He's not going to do that this year because they're so deep.
Yeah.
But again, not a bad room to learn under. I mean, it's just chock full of guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few already, but like, there's just dudes everywhere. So overall, Regs, like, if I can just go through real quickly, Jalen Carter was an A+. Nolan Smith was an A. Tyler Steen was a B+. Sidney Brown was an A-. Keely Ringo for the value, A. Tanner McKee, B. And Moro Ojomo, I'm going to give a B+ just based off of where they got him. So nothing lower than a B, and I still feel like Tanner McKee at that spot, because the Eagles don't have a ton of needs, is really good. And before we move on, a couple of other pieces that are interesting. You know how much I love undrafted free agents, so I picked 4 of them to talk about. Ty Zettner, they didn't draft a punter, but they took one.
Yeah.
And this is a dude who has a boot. He's got a boot. And I think I read somewhere where, was it like somewhere around like 90% of his, not 90%, that seems high. I'll find it, but something about the percentage of punts that landed inside the 20 was like,
yeah, 90 seems high.
Yeah, it wasn't 90. It wasn't 90. That was not right. That was way wrong. All right. I thought I had it. I'll find it then. It might have to come back to it, but I'll find it.
That's fine.
Okay. And then so Ty Zettner, and then Eli Ricks, who, like, the day after last year's draft, they did like the way too early top 10. He was like number 8.
Really?
And then ended up going undrafted, right?
Jeez.
So I don't know exactly what happened. I wish I knew what happened.
I was about to say, it seems dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big drop to be undrafted.
Yeah.
But he's super. I mean, his longs are incredibly long. Another guy that I could see them sort of transitioning to safety, but intriguing nonetheless. So keep your eye on Eli Ricks. And then 2 receivers. One who I'm pretty sure I drafted. I did at pick 219. Jaden Hasselwood from Oklahoma played with Jalen.
Jalen, yeah.
And the other one, Joseph Ngata from Clemson, who, look out.
Okay. All right.
Just look out. That name might come back.
All right.
Name might come back. Kansas State punter Ty Zettner averaged 44.5 yards on 59 punts, 27 of which landed inside the opponent's 20.
That's pretty good.
So 45 yards a punt.
Right. 50+%.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, not 90%, but 50%, almost 50% landed inside the 20. That's not a bad percentage. She's going to at least compete for the job.
Right.
So that'll be good. Okay. So again, just keep your eye on the name Joseph.
All right.
Just saying. All right. Phillies, Regz.
Yeah.
So the road trip started off great.
Right.
It really did. All they had to do was win one in LA. I need them to not get a 5-run lead ever again. You can have a 4-run lead. You can have a 12-run lead. You can have a 1-run lead. You may not have a 5-run lead.
I think the biggest thing I take away is this their first time on the West Coast this year?
Texas, but
but truly on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shockingly, I'm going to be glass half full Regz.
I've got glass half full statements to make too.
I think part of the glass half full is Bryce. How that guy looked this good, I don't understand.
5 times he got on base. 5.
I don't understand.
5 times.
Did I spend the entire time him running to second? Slide feet first, slide feet first, slide feet first, slide feet first. Yes, I did. The entire time he was rounding first. But that guy is not human, and I will never understand how he does what he does. Second, my biggest concern is that all of the bullpen pitchers look bad at the same time. Again, I think we can't let Alvarado off the hook completely, but the Sosa play obviously should have been made.
It needs to be caught.
He himself admitted the same thing. Yeah. I think it's one of those situations that It just is what it is. We haven't complained about the defense a lot this year. It just this was one of their worst series defensively. So the defense and the bullpen obviously are concerns coming out of this. I'll never understand how this offense is so inconsistent. We were texting about this a lot. I don't like Schwarber at 1 anymore. I don't like it. I think you made an unbelievable point, and it was so good that I literally stopped when I read it. He blocks up the bases for Turner. Stott doesn't. Stott can go if he needs to. Mm-hmm. And Stott can make it first to third if he needs to. If Turner, hits a single somewhere. Schwarber is not. Schwarber can't move anymore, man. I know we have to make Bryce DH, but just watching Schwarber try and run in the outfield is painful. He can't do it. Especially at a big ballpark like LA. He can't get to those balls. A normal outfielder gets to 2 of those pop-ups we saw. I don't like him batting first. I don't like it. The pitching part, Nola, when you have a 5-run lead, you can't give up 4. I get it. I know he went 7 or 6 and whatever.
6 and a third.
You can't give up 4 runs. You can't do it when your team spots you that much. If you're a guy who wants to be paid $20 million a year, that's not who you can be. It was disappointing. I'm going to come back glass half full that they get back home after their first road trip on the West Coast. Everyone seemed off. Everyone seemed a little bit off. Whatever, call it whatever. The time difference, jet lag, I don't know what it is. Everyone was off. So if they come back home and can win a series against Toronto, who is a really, really good team, especially offensively. So if the pitching can kind of snap back into form, I think we can look past this. Was it ugly? Yes. Was it embarrassing? Yes. Am I concerned about a few things? Yes. But come back home, win the series, and I think everyone will forget about it.
Yeah. They have to take care of business in Boston first.
Sorry, Boston, not Toronto. My apologies.
And then a 2-game series with Toronto before they go back out west.
Right.
For Colorado, San Francisco. So here's what I'm going to say. I sort of hear you with the bullpen. Really only one guy exploded in a game that was close. And that was Soto. And he just really hasn't done that much, so I'm not super concerned.
No, he's been very good for the past quite a while.
And then yesterday the Kimbrel situation, but
I never want to see Kimbrel in the 9th inning of a close game ever again.
But I think
put him in the Dominguez spot. Pitch him in the 7th.
To me, no, that was a Dominguez inning because of what was happening on the bases at that point. But to me, and I said this to you, Soto in the 8th.
Yeah, you did.
Alvarado in the 9th.
Right.
It's still the starting pitching for me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, Nola yesterday gets a 5-run lead and 3.
Yeah.
And the day before, and I don't get on Matt Strahm because I feel like it's not fair.
No,
he's done so much for them,
absolutely.
But 3 1/3 inning, 4 earned, and then the night before, Taijuan Walker.
Well,
3 1/3 inning.
That might be the most concerning. Is how terrible he's looked.
And someone just tweeted, and I don't agree with this. It's Joe Giglio, and he just says stuff to say stuff. But Taijuan Walker for $32 million more over Zach, looking like a major Dave Dombrowski mistake. Look, Zach Eflin will inevitably get hurt.
It's going to happen. That's a stupid tweet.
I understand 28 innings pitched, a 2.25 ERA, a 2.96 FIP, 28% strikeout rate to 3% walk rate, and a 58% ground ball rate. All that looks great, but we've seen it.
Yeah,
it's nothing new.
Right.
It's what Zach Eflin does.
Yeah, for the first month and a half.
Until his knee flares up.
Yeah, right.
So I get it and I hear you, but let's not make that statement. But it continues to be the starters since season, and it continues to be look, it's the nature of professional baseball. If starters aren't performing, then you're not going to.
Yeah.
I do think they looked lethargic.
Yeah.
I do think some of that was the West Coast. I also would like to add to it, though, that there's a lot of emotion with Bryce Harper coming back. And they looked like they started to sleepwalk a little bit when Bryce Harper was announced coming back. Monday, when he announced it, they lost 13-1, 13-4, whatever. And then Tuesday, his first game back, they lose 13-1 or 13-5. I can't remember which one was which.
Yeah.
And I don't blame Bryce, and I don't blame the team, and I don't blame the organization. I might have done it differently, Regz. I might have had him come back at home. Because it would have given everybody time to process. It would have, but again, he's Bryce Harper. Put him in the lineup, it's fine. But ultimately, they just didn't look in it or together.
Yeah.
And
they looked like they did before this sort of series win streak happened. Yeah. They looked like the first week of the season where they weren't ready to play professional baseball.
Which is so hard to fathom because for the last 2.5 weeks, they've looked tremendous.
Yeah.
Boston's a very beatable baseball team. They're very beatable. They're not.
No, they're not unbelievable. They're not so good that.
No.
Yeah.
And so they face Chris Sale tomorrow. They get Corey Kluber on Saturday, and I don't know Houck on Sunday. But all three guys have earned run averages above 5.
Yeah, Chris Sale is not the same dude.
Chris Sale and Corey Kluber have ERAs over 6.5.
Yeah.
So they're very winnable games from the offensive standpoint, but the pitching, it just it just has to be better.
Yeah.
Starters just have to be better. They have to get deeper. They have to be, and they have to find ways, to not let games get away.
Yeah.
They just have to. If you were to say to me yesterday, the Phillies scored 6 runs, Bryce Harper got on base all 5 times.
Yep.
Right? And Aaron Nola went 6 1/3.
Yeah.
I would have told you they won the baseball game.
You're absolutely right.
The problem is that Aaron Nola's 6 1/3 was not effective enough.
No. Especially not with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
He was handed a 5-run lead that ended up a 1-run lead when he walked off.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And you want to be paid $20 million a year to the point that you couldn't work out a contract extension.
Just a couple of more points here. I'm not going to get on Edmundo Sosa. He's not a natural third baseman. It's a very difficult position to play. And he's a role player. He's a very good role player. But Ruben said it really well yesterday after the game. And I've talked about this with guys like on our past, like with the Valdezes of the world, right? They're very good as role players when they play once or twice a week.
Yeah.
But once they're on the field 7 days a week.
Yeah. There's a reason they're not Nolan Arenado.
Their warts show.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that he's basically a Gold Glove player at shortstop, but slide him, 35 feet to his right. And, he's 5 airs already this year.
Yeah.
And that's like Alec Bohm-esque last year.
Yeah.
It was at the point yesterday where on post-game live, they were talking about moving Bohm to third.
And just play Clemens, right?
And play Clemens at first late in the game.
Yeah.
And, Batalico didn't like it. And he was like, well, now you're acting like a Gold Glover. And Ruben was like, no, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that he's a natural third baseman.
Right.
And he likely makes that play yesterday.
Yeah. Alex been very good at third base this year.
Yeah. So I do wonder if they're going to start playing Cody a little bit more and allowing Alec to play third again, just because of what that looks like. The other I do want to add on to the Bryce statement, just like how you get on 5 bases 5 times in your second game back after Tommy John, but that's just insane to me. And the Schwarber thing, I don't know. I go back and all the time, and I struggle so much. Like, he's struggling right now. Absolutely. 100%. No doubt. But like, I don't know. I know why people want Bryson there. I get it. In a lot of ways, I agree with it. And it sounds like Topper went back and forth, and part of me wonders if, come tomorrow, if Bryson is not hitting leadoff.
Yeah.
They won games with Bryson hitting leadoff.
I'm almost gonna ignore that. I understand Schwarber at leadoff has been successful. I'm not taking away from that fact. But this dude hitting leadoff is a novelty, like in the scheme of baseball. We have enough data and games played in Major League Baseball from its beginning that this guy is not a leadoff hitter. I understand he's had success and he's been successful. I get that. But you have a guy who has an unbelievable sense of the strike zone, is a contact hitter, is just looking to get on base, isn't going to strike out as much. That is a leadoff hitter. Azzy, we've known this since we were 8 years old. Kyle Schwarber should be coming up with guys on base to knock in RBIs. He shouldn't just be hitting 20 solo home runs from the leadoff spot. There's enough good hitters in this lineup to put Kyle Schwarber around people that he can see the same kinds of pitches. He's not, when you have someone who has the ability that Bryson Stott has, Kyle Schwarber should not be your leadoff hitter.
Yeah, I look, this is probably a conversation for a different episode, but I tend to lean on the new version of baseball in terms of how to construct a lineup. So I'm good with the rationale of why Kyle Schwarber hits leadoff. I'm not good with the current situation of him hitting leadoff.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
I'm all for your highest OBP guy being there, but I don't think there's that much of a margin with Bryson Stott. Now, all that being said, Regz, and I said this to you in a text message, that he hits leadoff once a game. True leadoff once a game. He might end up leading off an inning.
Right.
But true leadoff once a game.
Yeah.
So, he might come up with 2 outs and runners on base.
Yeah, sure.
And I get he's supposed to reset the table when it gets there. I know the role of a leadoff.
Yeah, I know.
I did it for years.
I know.
But I don't know. I'm struggling a lot right now. I think I want Bryson there, and I hope that Topper makes a decision and moves him back. I think that he was having a hard time with the Bryce return and wanted to make sure that he pleased Schwarber, but I think Schwarber's a professional and he gets it, and he's not right now. And you need somebody on base for Trey and for Bryce right now. There's somebody's got to be on base, and right now Kyle's just not getting the job done.
Yeah.
All right. They've got 5 games coming up here on the homestand. I think the only acceptable thing is 3-2 or better. And I need better because I need them back. I need them back at 500, or I need them back going forward. All right, quick fixated. So we alluded to it earlier. I'm going to talk a little bit pitch clock here, and I've talked about it before, and I'm not going to change my opinion the impact of the game, because I actually like it. I like it. I like that I don't have to stand there and watch a million pickoff throws to first base. I like that I don't have to stand there and, wait for them to walk around the mound, take their time. I do like that there's a bit more of a consistent pace, and it hasn't impacted my viewership of the game at all. It hasn't. I don't feel like the game has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't even notice it unless the umpire steps out from behind home plate and calls a violation. And truly, Regz, if you can't be set 8 seconds after the last pitch, I feel like that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
8 seconds is a lot more time than you think in the baseball world. And when you have runner on base, you have 13 seconds.
Right.
So it really hasn't greatly impacted my viewing pleasure at all. But I became furious yesterday. And I think part of my anger was that they had just blown a lead.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely was. And, when you're already mad, small things tend to bother you. So I did think by the time the game ended that I'd be okay with it, but I'm still not okay with it. I've actually tweeted about it multiple times. In the top of the ninth inning, Bryce got aboard with a walk, really good at bat. Actually, he's singled.
Single, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's singled. And he got to first base, and he's wearing this elbow guard now. And he got to first base, and he was having a hard time getting it on. Kudos to Nick Castellanos, who I don't know if he realized it.
I think they said he did. He did realize.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he realized it or if someone from the bench yelled to him. But he took a timeout, his only timeout, before the first pitch was thrown to give Bryce more time.
Mm-hmm.
Still couldn't get it on. The Phillies asked if that he could get it on, and they said no. And this is where I'm going to have issues. There is zero reason, none whatsoever, that pace of play should trump player safety. This is a dude who just came back from surgery. There's no reason that we should not hold the game for a couple of extra seconds for him to get the elbow guard that is prescribed to him to wear from a doctor while he runs the bases, so that we can end the game 5 minutes earlier than we would have other. It's unacceptable. Major League Baseball cannot risk the health of players. And I don't say this as a Phillies fan or a Bryce Harper. I say this as a fan of the game of baseball. That players are going to return from injuries. They're going to have to wear guards. They're going to have to wear braces. They're going to have to wear stuff. And if we're going to value that pitch clock more than we value the guys that are playing the game, then our priorities are way out of whack. And we have some soul searching to do. That's one of the most marketable players in the sport, one of the most loved and talented players in the sport, and a player who you want the youth watching because he has the cool cleats and he has the cool hair and he has the cool headband. He's really good and interacts with teammates the right way and fans the right way and comes up in big moments and does what he's supposed to do. And just, he's good for your sport and you're not protecting him. And again, if this weren't Bryce Harper and this were the 26th man on the Marlins, I'm still not going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
You cannot put pace of play ahead of player safety. Simple as that. And if you're in Major League Baseball's ownership group, or if you're in Major League Baseball's commissioner's office, and you're sitting there today and saying there's nothing wrong with what happened, check yourself. There's a lot wrong. There's a lot wrong. Fix that. You want to make them sign a waiver to give a standing ovation? Fine, whatever. I'll roll my eyes and move past. But you are absolutely not putting a player's health at risk for this. He can put his brace on, then you can start your precious timer. I'm done. That's it.
1,000% with you, by the way.
Thank you. I can't imagine anybody not.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I can't imagine anybody not agreeing with that. If you disagree, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Freaking find us on social media and send something, because I will battle you until I am blue in the face. I will battle you till I look like a Smurf. There's no way you're changing my mind. The mark on my head tells me that we're done. I gotta take this hat off.
I was about to say, yeah.
Oh, I have such a headache from wearing this thing. All right, man. Hey, thanks for the fun tonight. This is a good time.
It's a great time.
Good episode. We'll play this weekend by ear. Let's see what happens with the Sixers.
Yep.
Depending on how we feel come Sunday night, maybe you'll hear from us again.
Yeah.
On
again,
Monday.
these little quick reaction vids have been great. So
yeah. So you might catch us again, and if not, then we'll be back next Thursday for your viewing and pleasure here at the Phixated Podcast. And Regz, in 2 weeks, we're gonna have to have a conversation, because I'm seeing Morgan Wallen.
You're what?
I'm gonna see Morgan Wallen next 2 Thursdays from now.
Oh, all right.
So we're gonna have to, have a conversation.
That's fine. And also, episode 100 is coming up soon, so we got to figure out
which one is this.
This is number 95.
Oh baby! Did you see the red mark on my head? Just got a little redder.
It did.
Wow, 5 more to go.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Wow. All right. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. You can go ahead and click subscribe if you're watching. Please just click it. Click it now. I'm not gonna.
Close.
I'm not gonna continue until you click it.
11 more by the end of the year is like nothing. Come on, people.
Come on. All right, I'll keep going. Then go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Pods. You can do the same thing on Twitter. Follow at the Phixated Pod on Twitter. Follow at the Mic Drop 5. What I have to say, and with this to hear what he has to say. Then you can follow us on the Phixated fan page, which I gotta get back on, man. I gotta get people rolling on there. And certainly, as always, check the merchandise link. It's the show description. We're so grateful that you hung out with us. We will catch you guys either, Monday morning or Friday. But until then, be kind, be good to yourself, be good to others. Take care of yourself, take care of others. And go Sixers.
Go Sixers, man. That's right. Go Sixers. Take care of business. Let's go.
Come on.
See everybody.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.